Okay, so for today's maths, our learning target is to round numbers with up to 2 decimal places to the nearest whole number, and the whole number is the ones number. So it's a number that doesn't have any decimal point and any numbers after the decimal point, okay? So we've definitely done rounding before, but here's a quick reminder. When we round numbers, if it's a 5 or more, so a 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9, it's going to be rounding up, let it soar. If it's 4 or less, so if it's 4, 3, 2 or 1, then it rounds down. Okay, so we have to remember that rule for today's learning. So numbers that from 0 to 4 round down, numbers from 5 to 9 round up. Okay, so when rounding, the other part of the rule is that you have to know which digit you are looking at. Okay. So for rounding numbers, it says here, underline the digit, then look next door, okay? So for this example, if I'm rounding to the nearest 10, there's my tens number. So I have to look next door, I have to look at the number on the right to decide if I'm rounding up or down, okay? Now because that's a 5, I'm going to round up. So I would round up to 480. Okay. This one, if I was rounding to the nearest 100, then I would look, so I've looked at my 100 and I look to the number on the right, so that's a 4, so I'm going to round it down to the nearest 100 and that is 300. Okay, so we have to remember this rule, but we also need to know which digit we're looking at when we are rounding as well. Okay, let's give it a go. So here we've got some examples, okay? And we've got some number lines as well to help you. So remember that drawing pictures, making things visual is a really, really good strategy in maths. So here we've got a list of the steps that you need to do. So number 1 is draw your number line. Number 2 is add the whole number before and after to the start and end, okay? So my number here is 0.8. The whole number before that is 0. And the whole number after is 1. So I've got to decide, am I going to round 0.8 down to 0 or up to 1, okay? Now I'm rounding it to the nearest whole number, I'm rounding it to the nearest 1, so I've got to look at the digit on the right, which is our 10th number, which is our 8. So 8, I need to remember that I am rounding up, okay, because it's bigger than 5. So it would round up to 1. I can use this number line to actually show, okay? So if I put my number line in, add in the number that you're rounding, so place that onto your number line, and then I can see that it's definitely closer to the 1 than it is to the 0, so I can visually see that as well, okay? I can also use that rule, so I can remember that that's an 8, and that 8's going to round up as well, so I can use that to double check. This one, 13.6, so following the list of instructions, draw the number line, add the whole number before and after, so 13 would be the number before 13.6 and 14 would be the next whole number, okay? Add in the number that I'm rounding, 13.6, so I've got my 10 little spaces, little intervals, and 13.6 would be there. I can visually see that that is closer to 14 than it is to 13. But I can also use my rule. Okay, if I'm rounding to the nearest 1, there's my 1 digit, which is a 3. I need to look at the digit on the right, which is our 6.6. So 6 is going to round up, it's going to round up to 14. Okay. 57.2. So again, draw the number line. The whole number before would be 57, and the whole number afterwards would be 58. 57.2, if I'm dividing that up into 10 equal bits, it would have 2 tenths, so it would be there, I can see that, and again the 0.2 would mean to round down. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. If using these number lines helps you in drawing it out, then that will be the strategy which you will need to use today. Okay, so even if it takes a bit more time, it will be a really good way for you to check as well. Okay, so this is your first task, so you've got some numbers. and you need to have a go at drawing them. So it says for each of these, draw out the number line and add the numbers as shown in the examples on the previous page, just like it is here. Okay, so let's have a go with this first one. So I've got it on my whiteboard here. So I've got my number line here, and it's 55.5. So to start with, I need to put in my whole numbers. So this one would be 55. And the next whole number would be 56. Okay. I'm going to just label my 55.5 there. So that would be 55.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and then 56. Okay. Now, that's exactly halfway between. So I might need to remember my rule. Need to look at that 5 because I'm rounding to the nearest whole number or nearest one. So I'm going to need to round that one up, okay? Now doing this yourself, drawing it on a piece of paper, is a really good strategy. So 16.3, 16 is the whole number before, and 17 is the whole number afterwards, okay? So this would be 16.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 17. So my 16.3 is going to be 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. Just there, and I can see visually that it is closer to 16 than it is to 17. Okay, remembering that rule as well, I'm rounding it to the nearest whole number, so I have to look at the digit on the right, which is 3, which means I'm going to round it down. Okay, right. Now, once you've done those ones, you've then got this page to work through. If it helps, you might want to do the same again and to draw a little number line for each one. Okay, put in where you think that 9.34 would be and look at whether it's closer to 9 or 10. But maybe when you get to this bit, you feel a bit more confident with just using that rule. So if we're always rounding to the nearest whole number, we've always got to look at the number on the right, the next digit on the right, and that will tell us whether we're rounding up or down. Okay, so that's our 3. So we're going to round it down. Rounding it down would be to 9. If you just want to put the numbers on a number line where you'd round it down and up, that might help you as well. Okay, so do whatever is going to work for you, whatever strategy works. If drawing those number lines is going to help you, then do that. Okay, so for each of those, you're rounding the numbers up to the nearest whole number. Okay, that's the digit before the decimal point. So give those a go. I hope that helps you. If you've got any questions, then obviously give it your best go, and you can always ask us during the Zoom meeting later on today as well. Okay.